And here we are. I believe I finally have the final product, the defect tag. This defect tag, you are able to generate a report number. The report number is supposed to be today's date, followed by the a dash, a 1, o 02, o 03. It is the number of occurrences that today's date falls in line with this column. There is one occurrence, so the new one will always be an o 02, and you can click this as many times as you want. It won't do anything until there's a new value. You can clear the tag. You can scroll through previous tags where it will pull data from this consolidated. And the very first line, the PCB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can scroll through them. And one of the things you notice that this is the very first tag, 2022-01-16, 2022-01-16, that's the first one. 24 should be the last one. One of the things to note with this, the tricky part, was this, for the item description, this cell and this cell are not connected. And yet I have it that if you want to generate a new report number and write this data, but let's say you fat finger it, and for some reason you got all kinds of extra spaces that are unnecessary, and I believe they call this fat fingering, where you'll have extra spaces that you really don't want. There you go. I have error handling in for if you choose two selections and go to write the data, it will tell you please select only one. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an X. It could be a D. It could be a 5. And boom. But now when you write this data, you'll notice that there's all kinds of spaces here in the item description. But when you go to the last entry, 2022-01-24, the second entry, you'll notice that this is nice and clean. There is one space at the very end, and that is what I have for a stop. And the same thing over here. Everything is nice and clean, no unnecessary spaces except for the one at the end that I use as a stop. So the nice part is you can scroll through tags to make sure to clear previous old data before writing the new data. And again, now I can generate a new number, but if I click this multiple times, it doesn't matter. I can write it, and now you'll see it just writes it over and over again. I have to leave this a little bit flexible so that this allows the user to, if you clear this and say look at the first tag, and wait a minute, yeah, it wasn't really one that was rejected, it was two. Sorry, that was my mistake. I want to write that. It's going to give you a notice to say the data already exists. Yes, I want to overwrite that. That was my mistake. Boom. So now the very first line should go to quantity rejected 2 instead of 1. Or over here, if you change it to a 1, clear it, and go to rewrite it back, it writes it as the correct value. And But yeah, this definitely took some doing to keep all 5 of these individual and to keep these 2 lines individual, but to be able to put them together and tear them apart to concatenate and deconcatenate the information. So that is the final defect tag. Over here I got the data on how to generate the report number. Let's just call it a quit. What do you think?